Hello, everybody, and welcome to, what's this panel? Oh, no, I'm kidding. How to stream in a post-DMCA apocalypse world. How to stream music legally. My name's Noah Downs. I'm a lawyer, but I'm a cool lawyer. And I have said a lot of words about the DMCA on the internet. And you can too. No, I'm kidding. You can't. You're not a lawyer. Well, some of you aren't. But but we're here to talk about, the obvious. When you are streaming music online, whether you're making music, whether it's a feature of your channel, whether it's behind your content for the ambiance of your stream, how do you do so legally? What's required there? What have we learned from the DMCA apocalypses of every year since 2006? And where do we go next? Like, what options do you have? So I want our panelists, starting with Jared, to introduce themselves and just kind of come on down, and then I'll start asking questions that I'm going to come up with now.
My name is Jared. I go by the 8-Bit Drummer on Twitch and YouTube, and been playing drums on the internet for about 7 years now.
Allegedly, I am Family Jewels.
Yeah, good answer. Good answer.
I'm learning. Allegedly, I have a YouTube channel where I've been doing a shit ton of, awful video game covers, and then I did music on Cadence of Hyrule. And I also have a doorbell. Here you go.
Allegedly.
So,
Good God.
I am actually Family Jewels. This man is an imposter. My name is Jimmy. I am known online as Big Giant Circles. I am a video game music composer. I have worked on games like Mass Effect, Call of Duty. I've done a bunch of fun indie stuff. Back in 2014, there was a game called Threes on the Apple Store. I don't know. Weirdly, a lot of people know me as the Threes guy, which is like super random. But hi, how are y'all doing?
Hey, Jimmy.
Hi, I'm 8C Justin. I've been streaming for 11 or 12 years now, Twitch partner for 9 of them. I also used to play music in bands.
Cool.
So that's my only, I think that's the only reason I'm here.
Oh, hold on.
Do you just want to use this mic?
Honestly? No, we're good.
Yeah, we're cool.
Oh,
We like this.
Yeah,
Cool.
this is fine.
I'll keep this one.
Hi, my name's Ryan. I go online as McLaffy Taffy. I've been a content creator since late 2010. Twitch streamer for 8 years, partnered for 7. I'm the co-founder of 99 Lives, the music label, and I'm the co-founder of Pretzel.
The Spotify-like player for Twitch.
I don't have to say that anymore. I sold it.
That's right. And like I said, my name's Noah Downs. I represent over 600 content creators at this point. I was legal counsel to 99 Lives and Pretzel before we sold it. And now again, after we sold it, they rehired me, which was dope. And then, I'm here to moderate this panel. Woo! Okay, cool. So, hey! So, kind of kicking it off, and obviously this is going to be fun because every answer is going to be different. How much, starting with you, Taffy, how much of your content is informed by or is just music?
Revenue-wise, or
Why not both?
it playing in the background?
Why not both?
All right, so I started 99 Lives and Pretzel with my buddy Nate Beck, because he and I didn't know if I was going to make it as a content creator, but I wanted to stay in the ecosystem, and I felt like a pretty good way to do that was that Nate and I had a shared passion for trying to knock out the problems that streamers were facing, and the way that we saw it is like once a year we'd start a company that just focused on one thing and like ironed that out for streamers and just became a solutions platform. So we picked music as the first thing we were going to fix, and that was 7 years ago, and we really haven't moved on to anything else, and I had to get out of the industry because I was having panic attacks, because music law sucks.
Yes, it does.
And we kind of came to that realization after we got there. So I was Pretzel's first user when the player was a GeoCities page that had WASD as the controls, and it was a static image on a browser source. So ultimately, it was one of those things where as we were building things and as we were learning more about music law, doing it before DMCA apocalypses were happening, we kind of found ourselves ahead of the curve. And instead of being like scared or worried, what Nate and I did was we decided that if it made people like Monster Cat and NCS rich when it happened on YouTube, and it hadn't happened on Twitch yet, we would prepare the solution before it hit live streaming, and hopefully it would do good things for us. So I have had Pretzel playing since the first day it ever launched in the background of my streams. It's the only streaming service that I use because all of the legal attached to it is appropriate and correct. And then on top of that, there are certain songs out of that catalog that have become memes, and one that I charge $151 to hear because I don't like it anymore. And I won't say which one it is because I know you guys know the people who made it, but
It's Heroes Tonight.
God damn it, Noah. There's an NCS track that I got sick of hearing, so I jacked the price up and then continued to jack the price up, hoping it would go away. And now it's $151 a play, and I hear it 3 or 4 times a day. I've made more off of that song than the guys who sold it to NCS. Yeah. So, yeah, music matters on my channel.
Fair.
What was the question?
How much is music part of your content?
Part of my content? It's a big part. I mean, shit. I feel like I always have music on in the background in some capacity. Like I feel strange if I'm streaming to silence in the background. Weird. Like it's genuinely weird. It's off-putting.
Right.
So I feel like no matter what, there's always a musical element to my stream. It's just always there.
Gotcha.
And then past that, I'm at a point now where I like to play the guitar on stream, but I only play along to my own band stuff because it's the only thing I'm allowed to play along to.
Legally, yes.
Legally, yeah. But yeah, big part.
Cool.
For sure.
As a composer, music is the only part of my content.
Weird.
Next.
As a YouTube degenerate, music is also all of my content.
My name is the 8-Bit Drummer. So the answer
Allegedly.
is allegedly. Yes, the answer is yes.
All right. So my 3 boys down at the end of the panel. So how has your content been affected by the DMCA apocalypses? And just to kind of define that for all you guys, DMCA apocalypses are when the music industry realized, oh crap, there's a lot of money that we're not making off of Twitch and YouTube and whatnot, and they started to send takedowns under copyright law, the DMCA specifically, to Twitch and to YouTube to remove tracks that were in the background of certain pieces of content, whether it was a stream or a VOD.
So whenever that DMCA hammer fell, it was definitely really stressful for me because I was playing stuff that you could regularly hear on the radio. Like I really love like System of a Down. Well, that's the only one I can think of at the moment. But like I was playing to stuff that you could regularly hear, and I was also charging for song suggestions back
Allegedly.
then. No, not allegedly. I was. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. Yes, I know, Noah, thank you. Here's the thing. When the DMCA apocalypse hit, I was like, oh man, I have got to change what I am doing here. What are y'all laughing about? Nothing. Oh, everything. I've got to change like what I am doing here because I am in big trouble if they decide, hey, you're no longer allowed to play this, or we can come after you and sue you for playing this without permission. So it was one of the biggest things on my channel, which helped me to shift my content away from the music itself being the main draw to me being the main draw, like my entertainment value, my energy and everything like that. And it was actually kind of a silver lining because now I only play stuff that is safer to play comparatively to all, like if you can hear it on the radio, you will not hear it on my channel. But video game music and stuff like that, while still a gray area, it's a bit safer. And I try to keep it as safe as possible because I want to continue doing this for as long as I can. So yeah, it was definitely a big hit for me.
So I mean, I do primarily video game stuff, so not that makes it legal. I think a lot of people feel like, oh, because you use video game music, it's totally fine, right? It's just a little bit more of a bitch to crack down on, because when you use automated content ID platforms, if you've got video game music in those, you're also hitting all of the Let's Players, all of the official videos, everything. So it's not that, I wasn't hit by it. It was just seldom and from a select few companies that were particularly aggressive about it, namely allegedly Nintendo and Sony.
Nintendo's not litigious at all, right? Like they don't sue people. like ever?
No, they hate that stuff.
I haven't been sued, so yeah.
That's because you have a good lawyer.
Yeah.
Sorry, remind me what the exact question was.
Yeah, no, I got you. Basically, how has your content or your output of what you do been affected by the DMCA?
I could talk for a long while about this, so I will try to be as concise as possible. But
I mean, we've got an hour, man. So
okay, well, I'll still be concise because I could go on for multiple. Back in like the early days of Twitch, I think, before this was kind of really an issue and people were just sort of playing whatever they wanted. Whatever, I don't know. It didn't really affect me one way or the other. But when they started cracking down on it, it was actually good for people like me. And when I say people like me, I'm referring specifically to like indie musicians, people who are unsigned, who don't belong to a label. You're probably not going to hear our stuff on the radio, but and then of course, like most of my music is either directly related to video games or inspired by video games. The way it benefited me initially was actually a lot of people that were streamers at the time were like, ooh, I don't want to risk getting sued by insert, record label or publisher here. So instead they turned to me and people like me and they're like, hey, I really like your music. At the time I was doing a lot of like chiptune-y 8-bit style music, and a lot of streamers that were into that were like, can I use your music on my stream? And for me, of course, it's like, yeah, there's really no downside to that. It's a win-win for me. I do get the exposure of it. And I came up with a system. Well, I don't want to say I came up with a system. I kind of stole it from a couple other artists that were doing the same thing, like Approaching Nirvana, Chipsil, if you guys have ever heard of either of them. They had terms written on their site that said, here's the deal. If you want to use our music in your content, you can. We have very simple requirements. You need to buy it first. Like, back in like the day, like, maybe back in, let's say like the 90s and everything before, you had to pay like astronomical license fees to use a song in your content. If you were producing a TV show, even if it was just like some cable network, 20 people were going to watch it and that's it. Like, you still had to pay like huge amounts of money to clear that song. But instead it's just like, hey, I have the album online. It's on Bandcamp for $5. If you buy that album, you can use it as much as you want. As long as you don't just, upload it to your channel and say, hey, this is mine, I wrote this, or, try to sell it on your own, or take credit for, really obvious stuff that like nobody would do unless they were just, like not a very good person anyway. So anyway, that kind of blew up in my favor because people were like, oh, hey, this Big Giant Circles guy will let us use his music. All we got to do is buy it for $5. And in turn, like, a lot of the listeners grew to appreciate my music, and then they in turn would buy the albums and whatnot. And so, because I own my music, it was great. I was just able to like let people use it because that kind of benefited me the most. I wasn't out to be like, okay, well, if you want to license my song, my chiptune song for your channel, I'm going to charge you $50,000 or something. Because that, I don't know. I feel like we've been stepping away from that. That's one of the great things about modern internet is the accessibility of artists to get their art out there without having to be discovered by a label first. So again, I know I'm talking a long time. The other side of it is, and kind of like what Jules was saying, is that that's for the music that I own, like the music that I write for myself, or for indie games who allow me to keep the rights to my music, which almost all of them do. If you do write music for a big company, like, so if you wanted to stream the music I wrote for Mass Effect or Call of Duty, I don't have any control over those. So, like, technically Activision or BioWare or somebody could come after you for that. They probably won't. Because I think they understand that, like, they don't want to shoot themselves in the foot by, like, coming after people who are just basically appreciating their game. Not really sure how that ties into what I was saying before, but basically, like, as long as it's indie stuff and the people own it, they're pretty cool with it. As long as you don't, if you stay away from Nintendo, you might be able to do it. Like, Capcom's super cool. Capcom lets you do like whatever you want. Yeah. But Nintendo obviously not so much. So I'm sure we'll circle back to this more later. But that's all I got to say for now. So.
What?
I was going to ask you, like, in terms of Justin and Taffy with the DMCA Apocalypse, did you guys get hit by that at all?
A bit. So for me, the thing that really hit me, the artist, was that every Sunday for years, allegedly maybe there was a fee or not, but people would play music on my channel. And I'm a big music snob, and over time it kind of evolved into people being like, oh, like, we want to find songs that Justin actually likes. Like, it was fun for them. Like, oh, let's see if we find. And like, that honestly was really cool. There was a cool communal aspect to that, and that went right out the window with the DMCA Apocalypse, where I was like, that's a little too risky for me. But no secrets.
Keep talking. I got a letter.
Oh, no.
Jesus Christ. I'm not going to read this.
But yeah, no, that was the biggest hit I had. That went away. That was a big chunk of income that also suddenly went away. But it was also like a cool community bonding thing that I was suddenly like, oh no, I need new content on Sundays. But yeah.
As a content creator, the DMCA strikes did not hurt me at all because I started a company that did everything you were supposed to do so you wouldn't get in trouble.
Neat.
Okay, like, well, no, I didn't do a lot of work on it. Like,
You wrote affirmations.
I was quickly outgunned because it became a tech company, and I don't do tech, so I was kind of like, that's why I'm not there anymore, is because I ran out of things to do. I will say this, though, as somebody who did that, it was a weird balancing act between feeling sympathy for people, because ultimately there was a lot of like ignorance, and I don't mean that with a negative connotation, just there was a lot of people who didn't know the rules, and it's easy to like walk into the fly trap of just that kind of bullshit because it's also crazy and antiquated and archaic. But there was also a part of me that would get a little bit of like butterflies, because when that stuff would happen, the memberships on Pretzel would shoot up and we'd be very excited because that's why we built it. So me personally, I felt bad because I felt like the only person on the Titanic who had a jet ski and was going to be fine. So I'd just be watching all these people run around like, oh, goddamn, Dan's Gaming deleting all of his previous content tore me in half inside. It was heartbreaking to see all these people deleting years and years of content off their channels. And I felt terrible because people were like, Taffy, are you going to get rid of all your stuff? And I was like, why? It's all fine. Mm-hmm. And so I felt like the only person who was completely unaffected by like this hurricane that was around me. So I had a little bit of like survivor's guilt about it.
I kind of want to follow up on something that Jimmy was talking about earlier, is when it comes to streaming music legally, it's, we're hearing about how everybody up here kind of incorporates music into their content, provides content, that kind of stuff. But Jimmy specifically writes music that is safe to stream. In general, unless he's like writing it for like BioWare.
Right, yeah.
And what that means is that Jimmy is granting the proper licensing to streamers, whoever purchases the music, listens to it on Pretzel, wherever you find it. The license that you need, here's the answer to how you stream music legally, guys. So remember this if you remember nothing else. It is you need a synchronization license. A synchronization license, among other licenses, but that's the most important one. A synchronization license allows you to synchronize music in timed relation to images or video.
Dumb it down.
What that, I am.
Okay.
Not dumb enough, Noah.
Not, it's so dumb.
Explain like you're talking to me.
Oh, okay, hold on.
Oh, here we go.
When a man and a woman love each other.
When a man and a woman love each other very much. What that means is that if you want to put music with your content, whether it's a live stream, whether you're doing a hype video, whether you're making a TikTok, whether you are creating VOD content for YouTube, any of that, you need to have a synchronization license. But the problem is the synchronization license is the same license that Honda needs to hire and license Jimmy's songs to put with Honda commercials. And that's worth like 50 to 100 grand a pop for Jimmy. So historically, that's been incredibly inaccessible to your average streamer. You can go online and find no copyright intended stuff all the time, and that's just bullshit. So you need the synchronization license. The problem is that there's not really many clearinghouses out there for synchronization licenses. You can't really find those. And a lot of you don't know, like, hey, I'm going to Google a synchronization license. Where can I find music that I can have the synchronization license for? And you can't find it. What you can look up is music that is DMCA safe or stream safe or stuff like that. Because what those people are saying is, hey, we have the sync rights. We can do this. The only thing you can't do that with really is Twitch Soundtrack, because they said that they got the licenses, but they didn't.
They suck.
They did.
Oh, good.
Yeah, they didn't. And they also didn't pay any of their artists.
I
So
fucking hate them.
But yeah, and by the way, if you're one of those people that does the no copyright infringement intended, I didn't intend to murder that person. That's what you sound like.
Basically.
Jules is also a lawyer.
I am a lawyer.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
But yeah, so
It's
that's
also,
kinda-
I just want to point out, it is no copyright infringement intended. Since you're already going to be wrong, saying no copyright intended just makes you look even more stupid. That's not what you say.
Yeah.
It's no copyright infringement intended, not no copyright intended.
But what I'm saying is, again, even if you say that, it's just like, yeah, there's no intention of murdering. That guy just died, So I
As I
can't.
was stabbing him.
Yeah. As I was stabbing him, he fell on my knife. So you'll let me go, right, Judge? Like that's fine, right?
That's not how any of this works. So how many of you guys have seen like the no copyright intended stuff on YouTube or something like that as part of your content? All right, cool.
How many of you have said it? Get out! No.
All right, now this follow-up question I got before I start tossing things back to my co-panelists. In fact, this is a good question for the co-panelists. Who here has heard of fair use? All right. Who thinks that fair use is a good thing that you can avail yourself of? Well, I know you would. Fair use is bullshit. Fair use is something that you have to be sued in order to claim. It's a consideration for YouTube takedowns now. That's a more recent development. But fair use is if you were saying, hey, I'm using this for educational purposes, or I'm not making money on this, or I only use 2 seconds of this song, that's not okay. That's not enough. That's nothing. That is literally nothing, and you will be sued or have your takedown come. So do not rely on fair use, because you have to be sued in order to claim it. And before you get in front of a judge, you're going to spend 60 to 100 grand in legal fees, and I will happily take it.
Yeah.
It's okay. I murdered that person. He just had a punchable face. That's
Exactly.
legal, right?
I'm paying Noah to say it's okay I killed that guy.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a
Wait,
defense in court.
It's a
is what
defense
that
in
is.
court. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not something that you could be like, oh, this falls under fair use. What are you talking about?
You don't get
Like,
to determine that.
Yeah, a judge determines that.
So for my co-panelists up here, has the DMCA changed your content in any way? Like, has it led to new considerations about like how do I do this legally without getting blown up by Nintendo, for example?
Allegedly, no.
Anyone that's not Jules.
I mean, kind of also.
So what? All right, anyone that's not my two degenerate clients up here.
That includes you.
Allegedly, yes. So I've done everything I can to protect the channel, and that includes playing stuff that I do have license for, first of all, that I've paid for, Monster Cat, 99 Lives, different things of that nature. But then I also stick to things that are relatively safer. And now this falls into the realm of what type of risk are you willing to take with your channel. That is where a lot of this lies. Is this a accurate statement?
Yeah.
Okay. So I just want to make sure, because it's all about like the risk that you're willing to take on your channel, and I'm not willing to risk my livelihood over playing something from Nirvana. Like I might love the music, but I'm not going to play it on my channel because and I take song suggestions for a living, right? So I get everybody in my channel is like, hey, suggest whatever you would like to, go right ahead, and I will choose those songs that I feel comfortable playing. And if somebody gives me a song from Nirvana, I'll be like, hey, do me a favor and give me another song because I'm not comfortable playing this because it could cause me trouble. And that is one of the main things that the DMCA Apocalypse has done. It has really got me thinking about what is safe and what is relatively safe, if that makes sense, or not safe at all. So, yeah, it's...
You're thinking about practical versus legal risk.
Yes, exactly. And that would be the main thing for me is like I really think about what comes through the speakers through my channel, if that makes sense.
Now, question for you, Justin, since you don't care.
Yeah. That's me.
Laws are all made up.
Yeah, no,
Laws are fake. Do whatever you want.
So, Justin, quick question for you. In terms of some of the stuff that Twitch has rolled out and OBS has supported,
Yeah.
in terms of like splitting audio and going through those tracks, can you talk
Yeah.
to us a little bit about how you're incorporating those into your stream to make your stream a little bit more safe and why you do it too?
So I did kind of recently, in the last few months, I started doing the separate audio tracking, and that
explain
was
how that works too.
So that's pretty much like there is just a setting you can set in OBS that's essentially send this audio track to VOD only. It doesn't get recorded. VOD only. So you hear the music live, but if you go back to the VOD, there's just nothing there. And that's like not legal. Like that's not protecting me in any way. All that's doing is saying like, hey, Twitch is bots that will mute my VOD. Now you don't hear it.
Yeah.
But it's one of those like it gives me pizza mind.
Pizza mind.
Pizza mind.
I just started thinking about pizza. I'm so happy. No, it works out well. The downside to that is I'm not usually one to go watch my VODs anyway. Right. But when you go watch my VODs now, you'll just see me sitting there like just in total silence. It's the weirdest thing in the world. It's awful. It's a nightmare. Yeah. But past that, I mean, it works well. Although, actually, I had literally one day ago, I got a DM from someone in my community being like, hey, man, your most recent VOD's muted. And I was like, that's weird. I'm doing the thingy. And I looked and I was like, oh, it's just not working. I've just been playing music for like 2 weeks. Just unmitigated. Allegedly.
Yeah. Allegedly just knocking out the Beatles.
Yeah. But yeah, so that happened. I don't know if it's a technical thing. I don't know if they're having an issue with it. Maybe there was an OBS update that undid it. But yeah, it's all very, I do that to feel safer, even though I know it's genuinely not making me safer.
Now, Taffy, you do that too, don't you?
Yeah, I do that. I do that though, not because I'm worried about DMCA stuff. As a matter of fact, the only problem I've had in recent memory was that I started playing Knights of the Old Republic 2, and all the John Williams music is just laying waste to my VODs. But yeah, ultimately I do that, but I do it because I want to export my stuff to YouTube. And a lot of the music I'm listening to on Pretzel is not YouTube safe, so I was getting copyright claims on stuff that I would just move over. So I do that so that there's no sound on my, or like no music on my saved VODs. And then when I chop it up, I can just put, it won't be correct, but I just slide the original soundtrack of the game in there, and it doesn't match up, but it's better than dead silence, which is just agonizing. Yeah. So dead air.
You brought up something important there. You're talking about porting your VODs over to YouTube. So Taffy streams live. We have YouTube creators, we have Twitch creators, and so Taffy takes his Twitch streams and ports them over to YouTube. Taffy, when you're porting your streams over to YouTube, you indicate that some of them were getting claims. So that's coming from Content ID, isn't it?
Yes.
So I think that you and our YouTuber over there, Jules.
What?
Talk about Content ID, guys.
Oh, okay.
And what it is.
When a man and a woman love each other very much.
I follow this story.
I get this. No, it's just it's a program that runs through videos automatically and looks for melody matching. You can't just pitch it down or slow it down. Right. It can tell the melody, and the melody is it's the most easily copyrightable part of a song. Like, technically, it's like harder to copyright like a chord progression. It's not unheard of, but yeah. So essentially, it's just going through your stuff, looking for melodies and stuff that is in its system, and it hits you usually with just a copyright claim, which is not a copyright strike. I think a lot of people mix those up still to this day. Right. A lot of people come up and say like, how are you covering Persona music? Isn't that gonna give you a copyright strike? And I mean, it might. That's the gamble I'm playing with. But I go through as many channels as I possibly can to make it as legal as possible. Fortunately, with the system that we have in this, godforsaken Western world, it's not very fucking easy to do that. Because you need multiple licenses, not just sync licensing, but you need mechanical license. What's the third one?
Oh, you need. There's like a bundle of licenses that you need. You need public performance.
The main Triforce. What was it? It was.
Oh, you need like public performance. You need mechanical licensing. You need sync licensing. You need all sorts of licenses.
Master too, I think.
Oh yeah. You need
I think master. Yeah. I mean, yeah, you need a lot, but those are the three that like if you don't have like get fucked. I think that's just kind of the thing is like a lot of people think that they can skirt around Content ID because they can, pitch it down and all of this stuff. No, you'll still get caught, but it's not going to be a copyright strike like 99 times out of 100, I would say. So yeah.
So when you get a copyright claim in Content ID, Taffy, what happens? Or Jules, up to you, man.
Either or. You get a little notification email, and you get a notification on your dashboard that ultimately says, Man, Google's so when we got our label pulled together, we actually gained like MCN access through a person that we knew people at YouTube, and they actually got us our own MCN portal, and it was like the day before they stopped doing that for anybody. So Nate, who is this coding guru, got to go back and like reverse engineer the whole thing and figure out how it all worked. Like he went and cracked its chest open and pulled out all the parts and was like, wow.
Wow,
so,
it's
like,
all evil.
Right. It was all bad. Like it's better than what. So like Twitch does theirs through a third party
Audible Magic.
Yeah, Audible Magic, and it's pretty bad. Like it's pretty bad. And so like when we were working with Pretzel, Twitch has bent over backwards to make sure that they don't do anything to help us help them, to the point where like Noah and I got a face-to-face with the CEO of Twitch while we were at TwitchCon Amsterdam, and he said, "You have 1 minute," and snarled at us because he was just like, "Oh, this is Taffy. He co-founded Pretzel," and he's like, "You have 60 seconds, and then get away from me." And I was like, "Oh, it's nice to see you too, Emmett." Like they've worked hard to go against us. Google's like it's in-house. It's a little bit better. But it's still like there are people that are like, oh, I got a copyright claim. And my dashboard says that my revenue for my video is being taken away and given to, let me check here, this guy who says he's the sole owner of White Noise. Yeah. All right. This guy says that he owns the melody called Ocean Waves Crashing by the Beachside.
In fact, because this VOD's going up on YouTube, just to demonetize it.
No, I mean, we're already screwed. I'm sure John Cage's 433 is up there too.
Just a fun little anecdote about that. I was streaming a lot of Phasmo for a bit, a little ghost hunting game. And I had a VOD get muted because of just like spooky sounds. It was just like, oh, like the sounds of like just someone being like, ooh. That was enough to mute my entire VOD.
Yeah.
That's my favorite song.
And like again, that is a mute. It's not a strike. It's not a takedown. It's just them going, "Hey, we muted this because someone might own this." Right? That's the idea behind that.
Yeah.
So like ultimately though, that's the thing is that like on Twitch it's muting your VOD. Live takedowns are happening and are coming and are going to get worse. The music industry is not known for being super chill about leaving money on the table.
No.
It's still basically Motown. They're still looking to wring every last dollar. Like working in the music industry, I hated it and I didn't want to do it in the first place, but that's where the opportunity was. And the longer I spent there, the more sympathies I gained for that side of the table. So much so that like I'd like to think that the stuff we worked on made things better for artists, because that was where I saw people taking the most gut punches. Like I came in as sympathetic to content creators, and I still am. But man, some of them suck.
Yeah.
Like content creators are just the worst.
They really are.
They're so entitled and they're so cheap. And so like when you go into a situation like that and you're like, hey, would you mind giving $5 to the people who wrote the music that's filling up the backgrounds of your 12-hour streams? And like, why would I possibly owe that to them? And I'm like, I want to hurt you bad.
Because you're giving them so much exposure.
Yeah, there's so much exposure to my mom and Nightbot in chat. And so it's just like, ultimately.
Holy crap.
Listen, I've reached a point where I'm established enough that I don't care anymore. So you're getting the unfiltered version. So all things considered, it's frustrating when you get your VOD muted. It's frustrating when you put your heart and soul into a video on YouTube, and the next thing you know is because we ran into people who scammed the system at Google quite a bit. I had a guy who claimed, when I was working for the music label that I co-founded, we signed exclusive rights to a track, and then it's very first come, first serve inside Google's system. So if you lay claim to a sound, it's harder to unseat you than it is to take it. And so ultimately, there was a guy who claimed he owned a song that we had purchased the rights from the artist and from the artist's management. And I got Google and Twitch both kind of go like, oh, you've got a real problem here with a conflict of copyright ownership. All right, well, here's your addresses for emails. We'll step out of the way now. This isn't our deal. And so we got into an email thread with this guy, and he was like, excuse me, I own this song outright. I bought it from the manager, and then I CC'd the manager. And I was like, well, here's Ted. Ted, do you know anything about this dipshit who's claiming it on YouTube? And within minutes of sending the email with the actual management attached and the artist attached, it was released from copyright claims. And so you're constantly gaming that. And so it's like, this doesn't help you with any of this. It's just to say it's a really screwy system, and ultimately, people who have established careers and platforms that gamble with this or rely on this solely have to really watch their asses. But the thing that breaks my heart the worst watching people come up who have 5 viewers, who have 10 viewers, is that the attitude they take is nothing bad can happen to me. And that breaks my heart because you could catch fire.
Yeah.
Like the Tinder could catch and you could take off and you could be on signage at TwitchCon in 3 years and you've already made things really complicated because like Dan's Gaming, you got to go back now because it's something that happens. And if you don't have the manpower to just like download terabytes of old video footage, you could find yourself in a situation where you have to erase part of your history. And that's, you know, that's brutal. And I don't want to see that happen to anybody. And it's been really, if I can give you anything, it's that by taking care of myself and watching out for myself, I have alleviated so much stress that I've seen people jump into Discord calls and just cry at each other because of what they're having to go through because they just didn't know any better or rolled the dice and lost. And it's like, you know, I don't want to see anybody go through that.
Well, and so we'll dive into a couple of the solutions there. I think it's really important to highlight how complex the system is if you are not streaming music legally, because it's just all the more emphasis on do it right the first time. I did want to say that, you know, we were talking earlier about how the music industry tends to wring every cent they can out of stuff. They are occasionally vilified by streamers and content creators as well, but it's important to remember they are content creators like Jimmy. So Jimmy, as the, you know, representative for the music industry up here, you know, the one that's hated, can you tell me a little bit about like how you and your colleagues and whatnot, how do you approach, obviously we know you release your music DMCA safe where you can. How do you see you and your colleagues approaching this problem facing the other side of the industry, and how do you think there's any like split there, or like do you think you guys have earned that reputation of, hey, we want every single dime?
I got to sit here and think about this for a second, just because I like to think that what the overall mentality should be, which sadly through experience I know that it is not. But if you're all here, then like join me in this mentality of we're all kind of here to help each other. Like, and when we do that, we all win. If I, as a music creator, think that I'm more important than you as content creators, why would you ever bother to use my work? Why would you have any interest in helping me if I don't care about helping you? Flip that around. If you're constantly playing my music and not a single viewer of yours knows who I am or where they can find my music or has any idea that I wrote the music or anything like that, that's not really helping me. So my personal approach is to make things as accessible as possible, because that is the beauty of the internet that we live in right now, is that like I don't have to go and just suck up to however many labels I have to try to get one of them to put my stuff out so people can hear it. Like I have my own Bandcamp page. I can pay a little bit of money to a number of places and my music will appear on Apple and Spotify and all the other streaming platforms. So instead of trying to make it like, instead of trying to gouge you as people who are just trying to, you know, just like me, you're just trying to get by, pay your bills, and do what you like to do and make friends and have fun and all that. I just want people to recognize that, like, if you're using music constantly in your stream and you're making money off of it, and you know, especially if you get to the point where you can be streaming as a career, you know, share the love, and that will go a long way. And I find that just definitely comes back around. I mean, I know it sounds very kumbaya and stuff, but I mean, all jokes aside, that's. And real quick, I actually wanted to ask earlier, I'm assuming that most people in here, so just raise your hands if you are in fact a content creator or an aspiring content creator.
Cool.
And raise your hand if you're just kind of here because of like you're in the music side of things. So
And raise your hand
there
if you
are a
don't
couple.
like
Okay,
raising
yeah,
your hands.
that's about right. I figured there'd be a few musicians, but mostly content
How
creators.
many
so.
of you were just dragged here by a friend?
There we go. Yay!
All right.
I love that
No,
my wife
allegedly.
raises her hand.
Not lying.
I know.
So I do got one last question before we open it up for questions, by the way. And that is, going forward, like, what is your piece of advice for how you stream music legally or make content legally with what you do with music?
I'll go first just so I can get my talking done and leave it to everyone else. But along the lines of backing up to kind of what Taffy mentioned earlier about Pretzel, the nice thing about Pretzel is Pretzel saw this problem. They were like, okay, there's two people that are negatively affected by this DMCA stuff. There's number one, the streamers themselves are getting their content muted or facing potential legal risks from big companies. And then on the other side, of course, there's musicians who just aren't getting paid. I mean, we've all kind of heard like the whole joke about exposure and whatnot. Like like what can you give me? Well, if you give me your working time for free, I'll tweet you to my 60 followers on Instagram or something. That's like, cool, that'll definitely pay for the milk I need to buy on the way home. Like, it just doesn't work that way. So Pretzel came along and they're like, okay, we need to figure out a way to like satisfy everyone here. So instead they basically built a platform where our demands are met, which is that Pretzel basically tells people what music is playing, and it also tallies how often that music is being played, and then kind of like throws it in a system and then figures out who is getting paid what. And it's such a simple idea. Like it annoys me that it took this long for that to even be thought of, and that it hasn't blown up sooner. Like I'm really happy that you guys sold it. And I'm like I kind of watched it from its inception all the way to getting sold, and I was super happy for you. But I can't believe it took that long.
So when we first started it, we didn't know anything about the legal aspect of it. Mostly Nate and I were just focused on building a functional player, but we needed music because we had 99 lives, but I was the only person using it. And even though I owned the label, I was listening to it for 9 hours a day, 6 days a week, and I was like, "You got to get more artists in here, or I'm going to shoot myself in the head." Because I cannot listen to the same catalog for like the next 6 months. Mm-hmm. And so he reached out to Jimmy and Approaching Nirvana, and I think Danny Baranovsky, and got a handful of just our personal friends, and they basically said, "Yeah, use our catalogs to populate the player, and in return, we just promise not to sue you." And then we got into it.
Allegedly.
And then we got into it, and it seemed like a good idea, and we liked it. And now it's at a place where, like I probably shouldn't talk about exact numbers, but I know exactly if I play Jimmy's got a bunch of songs that I love, and somebody will say like, "Oh, you should play, you should play the song from Stranger Things," and I'm like, "Oh, I love that song." So I go and I cue it up, and I listen to it, and I know that. Even though it's a penny or whatever it is, I know that playing that song put a fraction of the subscription revenue from Pretzel into Jimmy's pocket, and that makes me happy. So
yeah, and we all win. I mean, you have people that you get to hear music. I was just thinking, actually, you know what we should do? Let's like game the system, and you can tell everybody you hate one of my songs and get them to start paying you like exorbitant amounts of money to play it.
Oh my God!
And then just split it with me later.
No,
that sounds good, right?
No.
I probably shouldn't have said that like into the microphone. That was a private conversation for later.
we said the quiet part loud, but you guys
that's
follow me on Twitter to find out which new BGC song I really hate these days.
Oh my God. All right, Justin.
What's up?
What's your tips?
What?
What's your tips?
On what?
I have great panelists.
Genuinely, I don't know. I mean, I have like my advice that I give to people and the advice that I think I should give to people. It's hard.
Surprise me.
Surprise you? I mean, genuinely, like talking about all the VOD deletion stuff and the clip deletion. I had a lot of friends who streamed who were like heartbroken because they're like, "Damn, I have to go delete 5 years worth of content," and I was like, "Don't."
What?
I said, "Don't."
Yeah.
I was like, "I'm sorry, I didn't either."
Yeah.
And that's a risk I guess I'm taking, but. I don't know. From my own perspective too, I'm like, I know I listen to music on stream, but it's always like fucking like shitty punk bands from the '90s that no one ever heard of.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So no, that's the thing. Like I feel like everything I'm listening to, no one's gonna come after me for.
Oh, they will.
They could.
They will.
So they will.
I mean, like
If they can catch me.
This is when you follow up with so split your audio and at least it'll mitigate it.
Yeah,
a little bit.
you mitigate it a little bit.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. All right,
I'm
Jules?
just making sure you stay on your toes. You got work to do.
Yeah.
Are we talking like Rancid, No Effects, or?
Shit. I'm on the spot now. I don't know.
No, this is recorded. Don't literally identify the people that can sue you.
Is it allegedly No Effects or?
I got dinged for a Bad Brain song last week.
Oh,
but
okay, yeah.
I mean, they were
it's the label.
like
You-
Sony.
you-
Yeah, Sony. owns
Like
their music,
yeah,
right?
if you're playing Rancid, Tim Armstrong isn't gonna come after you. It's gonna
Yeah.
be whoever owns
Yeah.
it. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah. It's gonna be like Epitaph coming again.
Hey, Jules, what's your tips?
I've got a lot.
Oh, very good.
So number one is don't. Just that's the safest thing. The safest thing is just don't, because it's always a risk. You're not safe ever. It's just that's just general advice, just life advice. But like it continuously gets more complicated as it becomes less complicated. I can share an anecdote of I worked on a video game, and this video game has music in it, and myself and the company were getting messages from YouTubers who were doing Let's Plays of this game and saying like, hey, we're getting a copyright claim from like Family Jewels' MCN, like what the hell? We looked into it, and it actually ended up not being from that. It ended up being from something called a pro. Does anyone know what a pro is? Yeah. It's not what you think. What's so funny about professionals? What is it? It's a publishing
Performing rights
organization. So this could be APRA, I think ASCAP,
ASCAP, BMI.
Yeah, and these are people who can literally just take the rights of your music, whether or not they own it, and then put it on a table and wait for whoever the real person who owns it comes by and takes it. But the point is that money is going to somebody that is not you. They can just do that. That's just part of the system that we have. And that's what was happening. And literally the only thing we could have done was do something that the company didn't want to do, which is put that stuff through Content ID and actually claim it, because they were afraid that they were going to start demonetizing people who were doing Let's Plays and actually, helping the game and showing appreciation for it. So don't. It's really complicated and it never ends. The other anecdote I have is I did a cover of a Deltarune song, very popular, and other covers of it were getting claimed, and what YouTube does is it doesn't show the actual copyright holder. It shows you a YouTube video, right? How do you know that the publisher has a YouTube video of it? It just so happened that when you searched for it, mine was the first one that came up when it's referencing what the song is. So everyone is like, fuck you, Family Jewels, why are you taking all my money? And I'm like, I'm not. I don't know what I did.
I'd like to have it, but no.
Wait, is there money? I was just fucking where? No, it really like, it's just because that's the way that it does it. It's like, here is the content that is what you are infringing upon, But it just so happens that it was actually going to the correct person. It's just using my video as like, this is the song, even though it wasn't an original audio. Because typically, if you do have that, you'll see somebody's ripped OST version of it, which is also not theirs, and they're not receiving the money for it either. So my advice is don't pretend like you understand this, because you probably don't. I don't do it. I don't understand it, and I've been doing this for 12 years. The best thing to do is just, keep yourself as educated as possible, as much as your monkey brain can handle, and have a team that can help you, because, you need help. So just, my advice, just 1, don't. 2, if you do, don't pretend like you understand all of it.
The main thing about all of this is all creators are trying to make it. We're all trying to make a living doing what we love or what we're, working with. And these systems are in place in order to make sure that people who own their content are getting paid. So I guess my main thing is support the creators. Like, support the creators directly if you can. Like, if you like a song, like, buy their album or support their Patreon or something like that, because there's a lot of what I would like to call misplaced money, where it's supposed to be going to people, but it's not. And that's why DMCA exists, is to protect the rights of the people who are stop writing notes, Jules. To protect the rights.
I'm helping you.
Yes, he's helping, all right. It's to protect the rights of the people who are creating the content that you are enjoying. Because y'all remember, like, Napster, LimeWire, stuff like that, there was no licensing there, and it's just like, oh, free music, yes, you know.
Oh, no.
That's not how that works. That's not how that works. So I guess my main point is to support the creators that you love, because heck, I don't know exactly what I'm doing. That's why I've hired this guy, because he knows most of what he's talking about, and he knows a lot more than me. Let me put it that way. But at the end of the day, with my channel, I am taking a risk, you know, but I'm trying to mitigate that risk as much as I possibly can in order to keep myself and my family safe. So my main thing is support the creators directly if you can, because we're all trying to make it.
Right. And I'll just chime in and say, well, this is one of my favorite panels that we do on a semi-regular basis, because I can get up here as the lawyer and say, hey, this is the letter of the law. Go do this, use this, and that is the most boring thing in the world, isn't it? But yeah, use Pretzel. Work with 99 Lives. You know, hashtag not sponsored. I don't own them anymore. And
I have stock, so use Pretzel, please.
oh yeah, use Pretzel. But also, every single creator up here has a different issue facing them, and not all of them have solutions. And so when you're going out there, one of the most important things that has been set up here is to have a team of people that understand what they're doing, to make sure that you are safe and you are protected, and that if things go wrong, you have someone to fall back on and take care of it for you. So real quick, I want to make sure that everyone shouts out where they are, and then we're going to do a Q&A real quick. So real quick, Jared, where can people find you?
The 8-Bit Drummer on Twitch and YouTube.
And Jules?
I'm right here.
Cool. Nice. Jimmy?
Allegedly, right here. I'm Big Giant Circles on all social media. I can't prove it.
You can't prove I'm right here.
I'm HC Justin everywhere, except on Twitter, HC Justin with 2 N's.
McLaffy Taffy everywhere that matters.
I'm my lawyer friend on Twitch, TikTok, and Twitter. Yeah, so questions. We have a mic in the middle. If you have a question, feel free to stand up and come to the mic. One thing I will say is that no specific questions about legal advice that related things, because I can't give you legal advice. I'm not your lawyer yet. I'm their lawyer. I'm not your lawyer. So,
Hi, first time, long time. This question is for Jules. How do I protect myself
don't.
from my cover channel of Nightcore music?
You don't.
Okay, thank you
Can't
very much.
completely protect yourself.
Thank you very much.
so basically, actually, legitimately though, like we're talking about a Nightcore channel that's popped up.
What?
Nuke 'em. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Why can't we just slow it down? The music's too fast.
Daycore.
Daycore. Yeah, vaporwave.
Gotta love it.
All right, next question.
Appreciate it. What's up, guys? I have a weird gray area question, actually.
Cool.
I stream rhythm games.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
So
that's rough, buddy.
Yeah.
So here's a good answer to that you're not going to like. A lot of rhythm games out there, like Just Shapes and Beats, for example, or Synth Riders, will have DLC packs that are safe to stream.
Even the Monster Cat ones?
What was that?
Even the Monster Cat ones?
In theory, maybe. But you'll notice that these specific packs are marked as, hey, this is good for streaming. This is something that you can put on your stream. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to be able to play a lot of the popular music. So one of the things that, like, for example, Justin splits his audio. That might be something that you do. It just is going to kill your VODs. However, the lawyer answer is you're up a creek, my friend. Because those games have not received the proper licenses to sub-license you the synchronization right.
That was like Avery with
with Just Dance. So
Just Dance.
yeah.
I'm Avery's lawyer, so I can't go too much into that. But
that was
The
rough.
games have like specific licensing to allow you to enjoy the game, if that makes sense.
As an
like
end user, but not
yes,
as a
as an end
broadcaster.
user,
Yeah.
not as a broadcaster.
so a lot of these games will also have safe for stream mode. So look around for those. At a certain point, you're going to be taking some sort of risk.
There's also an answer you might like even less than that.
Oh, good.
There are games that rhythm games that let you have your own custom soundtracks, like Crypt of the Necrodancer or Audio Surf.
And things.
Soundfall is one that does.
Yes. Mhm.
But you have to make sure that the song is okay. Like, it's,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just because if you, let's say you're playing a System of a Down song on Clone Hero with plastic guitar, you do not have the rights to play that on your stream. But yeah, that's just how it is. And once again, it's about the risk.
But Serge Tankian's my dad.
I guess the answer is good luck,
I wish.
Godspeed, and may the force be with you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Next question.
This is a question for Jared.
Yes.
Outside, you were telling me an interesting anecdote about risk assessment on your stream, about how you've received requests to play drums along with I'm a Goofy Goober from the SpongeBob movie, which is a cover of I Wanna Rock from Twisted Sister, but the lyrics are different. And you said that in the past you were unable to or unwilling to play that on stream until people started requesting my cover of it on your stream. Can you explain why exactly my cover is safe to play on your stream, but you can't play the original from the SpongeBob OST, even though it's already a cover?
So the true answer to that is it is not safe.
Okay.
Because of the fact that it is still a cover of a song that I do not have the license to.
Cover of a cover of a cover of a cover of a cover.
But from where I am sitting as a content creator, it is a smaller risk comparatively to the actual song itself, because of the fact that you have I don't know if you personally licensed that song or have the ways to have that be distributed.
The video's been claimed.
That's exactly. Now if on YouTube there is content ID and then revenue sharing as well, which is a real. Let me say that's actually a really awesome thing in my personal opinion as a YouTuber.
But it's not available to everybody.
It is not. But content sharing or the revenue sharing allows you to get some from a cover of a song that you have done, and also it gives the money to the creator, which once again, that's why the systems are in place, is to make sure that the creators are getting paid. So TLDR, it is a lower risk, but there is still risk involved.
Understood. Thank you.
We're going to do rapid fire on these in terms of answers. So one person, one answer.
Good question. If someone would like legal advice from someone like Noah, how would they find it?
Oh yeah, you can find me on. You can hit me up on Twitter. Not right now because it's a little overloaded. Or you can email me at noah@premacrogers.com or take my card after the panel.
Or I specifically meant like what kind of legal representation should they seek? If they're not in your
that's
legal
my answer. So this is incredibly complicated.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, not the answer. This is incredibly complicated field of law, and there's not a lot of people that do it, and there's not a lot of people that bridge the gap between music and streaming, like content creation streaming.
Sort of
So
micro,
I will just look
micro,
Yeah.
micro licensing is what I've started calling it.
Yeah, exactly. So this micro license. I love that micro licensing stuff, and so honestly, it is the kind of thing where you look for somebody who has claimed credentials in the space, but there's not going to be that many people.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
It's Nate's thing.
Yeah, it's Nate's thing.
This one's a little random. I am not a streamer,
Cool.
and I am not in the streaming world.
Good for
However, I'm a performer.
Oh, nice.
We do competitions,
Oh, nice.
and it's to music. We're dancers. How do we?
A lot of the
with that?
venues that you will be in will have like a commercial licensing scheme set up. Okay, so they don't have a commercial.
We're talking pole dancing.
Neat.
Yeah, we're not talking.
So there are commercial licensing schemes set up for that. If you're not streaming the content,
It's not live streaming, but a lot of us do put
like on TikTok
video
and
on TikTok,
and
up on,
special spicy content
yep.
stuff. Yeah, cool. Yeah, so we should talk after.
Okay.
Cool.
I just want to interject real quick. This is another benefit of just going directly to an artist. Like if there are indie musicians that you know of and like or use their music, like just approach them directly because they're the ones who own it. Yeah, perfect. Then yeah, just
a lot of competitions. They want to hear the more.
Yeah.
known.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
Gotcha. That's fair. All right, last two questions.
Okay, so I'm a video editor who, for the most part, I like to practice my craft, just taking music that I've bought and just, you know, I'm big into AMVs. I don't post my content because obviously risk assessment, but
Right.
a lot of the AMVs that you see online, for the most part, is that just people taking risks, or is there something to understand with that?
It's a lot of people taking risks.
Yeah.
I'll say that 98% of the content you're going to find online is just people doing risks. In fact, I would say 99.5% of the content you find on TikTok is people just taking risks. That's why so often you'll save something, favorite something, go back, and it's like, this sound has been removed. This video has been removed. I don't know why we turned into Bane, but that's the problem that you're finding a lot there. So
Okay, so
good luck.
So keep practicing, just don't post it. If it's risky.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Send it to your friends.
So I was wondering if I could get your all of you to write it down so I could physically follow you. Like,
Yeah.
I need to have that. And then if you would follow me back.
Follow for follow.
$50.
I mean, you don't have to answer yes or no, but I would like to have so I can actually 'cause I've
Happily
heard
write
you
it
say
down.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Because I'm inspired and I really appreciate this. Really great, you know.
Thank
I mean,
you.
if you don't ask, you never know.
And
Shoot your shot.
I'm Bates_Motel 6, just in case.
Hey,
Hey, I love
$50 for that plug, by the way. You at the door.
Put it on my bill.
All right, last question because we're out of time.
I know.
Hi, Aaron.
So I guess this is for Noah.
Uh-oh.
So as you know, if we're not a content creator, not a musician, what can we do to try and help our content creator, musician friends to try and make the system better? Like,
Give them money.
Do you have a
Well, give them
shoulder?
money, but, like, is there
Let them cry on it.
Is there like a support? Is there any push to try and change the system? And is there a way for us to
Yeah,
support
so there is actually a little bit of legislation that's been proposed in Congress for the United States content creators and stuff like that. That kind of talks about reforming music. We did get the Music Modernization Act recently, and it didn't change anything about this analysis, which sucks because synchronization rights are so valuable that the music industry is not going to let you touch them. So that is to say that when you are out there and you're following along with, if you see anything about synchronization licensing reform, support that. Follow all the content creators up here because the minute that you hear DMCA reform, synchronization right reform, music reform, that kind of stuff, they will know and they're going to message about it. And so that's how you find and support this stuff is to go out there and support independent creators like Jimmy, support content creators like the other 4 people, pay lawyers, I guess, or help them pay their legal fees. And so that's the answer is like look out for stuff that you can support, but there's not too much right now. So that's all the time we have, everybody. Thank you so much for coming.
You aren't safe. You aren't safe. You aren't safe.
Make good choices. Have a good MAGFest.